Um, so I guess what we should do is we should, begin in the usual way, but acknowledge that we're not going to vote on anything tonight. Yeah, which makes me a little worried about, I wanted to talk about that contract, but well, I guess we'll cross that bridge. We might as well go ahead and start with the usual. I'm going to mention that this meeting is a nice summary of it on pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law. I'll paraphrase here. There's a strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place. This meeting of the Southampton Housing Authority is conducted via remote participation. It's all legitimate thanks to the government's order. We will start the meeting. It is 6:13 p.m. on Monday, March the 1st, 2021. And I wish to welcome still technically a guest in Sierra, and Janet, of course. Are there any other visitors? I don't see anyone else coming into the meeting. Okay. So, welcome, Sierra. I appreciate your continued interest also. We do not have a quorum, but I think we should meet anyway. We can't approve the previous minutes because we can't vote on that. I'm in a little bit of an ethical and moral dilemma, though, with this next item. It has to do with the contract for the CARES Act funding to supplement people with rental issues. I'll share my screen with you folks.
Because I feel like I have a different agenda because I don't have it on the agenda.
No, this is new. Sorry, Janet. This is in addition to the agenda, and I guess we can't even vote whether we want to add this to the agenda, excuse me, or not, because we don't have a quorum. But I sent this email. I just received this information Friday, post-agenda posting. And so I wanted to insert it here because it's pretty important. The town has committed $6,000 of CARES Act funding.
Well, that is on the agenda, CARES Act fund status. So I guess it is covered on the agenda. It is covered.
Okay. Yeah, I was just going to, well, originally, Jen, I was just going to give an update, but now we actually have something concrete to work with. Good. If I can coordinate myself here to share the screen, I'll get there. There it is. Ed sent me this sample contract.
Yeah, he sent it. Yeah, I saw it too.
Okay.
I think you sent it to us, right?
I did send it to you folks, but
one.
Can you see it now?
Yep, there it should be.
So we can discuss it. I guess the question is, can we vote on it, or do we need to vote on it?
Yeah, I'm not so sure. We already agreed to everything that's in here, and this is the action we're taking. This is just more or less the end product. So I don't know that we need to vote on it.
I was kind of thinking the same thing, but I didn't want to think that in a vacuum. Because
I thought of it in a vacuum. So.
Can you see it okay, Sierra? I can't recall if I included you in the email or not.
Yeah, I can see it.
It's pretty standard. The only thing that worries me a little bit is I'm named as opposed to, I thought it was going to be Ed or the chair of the select board, but ultimately,
I think he changed that, right? He had it there and then he decided to put the housing authority in.
Yes. And I read it, and of course it's always scary to see your name on a contract or something, but I read it and I reread it, and, I'm not going to be in charge of who gets the funds. That will be community action. That's what they do. They're merely going to send us a bill, and I and some other, I guess would be approving, along with looks like the accountant, if I see it correctly.
At the bottom. No.
Yeah.
Well, Rini has to sign it.
Yep,
So the select board is the author, which is
that's true.
surprised about if it's got you in it, but
Yeah, it's kind of,
I don't think she has the authority to sign on behalf of the town. Unless he made a mistake there, so. Where is your name? Where was your name in here?
let me find it.
It's right there under designated representatives.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's the old, I think it's the one I have that I thought came in, which is edit 2. Jim has Claire Higgins, Jim Sini, and Regina Gillis on it. So it's not the same one that you have open.
okay, let me get out of here, because I saw edit 2. I thought that's what I just opened up. My bad. Whoa. Let me try again. Oh. This one.
Okay.
Thank you. Right. Janet Tetro,
If you go down to
just
the,
me.
yeah, the bottom of the page to see who the signees are. And it has
Yes,
you and
me.
Claire and Regina. Yeah.
Right. This is the one I looked at because I remember thinking, okay. Personally, like I said, I'm normally really reticent about these kind of things, but I'm willing to do this. But I really like your folks' input, just if you have any red flags about this.
I didn't when I went over it. I don't know what I don't know, but.
Right. It'd be very different if I would be very remiss on, signing off, okay, I'm going to talk to each applicant and determine whether they get funds or not, but that's not what's happening here.
Yeah.
Essentially, it frees up the select board and puts this where it is. The town designates. Lucky me, I'm the chair. I kind of get that. But really, the housing authority, other than promoting this, doesn't have a lot to do with this. Yeah.
We're just giving them the authority to spend the money that we have.
You could do this and run a contract with an agency like Community Action and do this very work, even if you didn't have a functioning housing authority in town. I think because we do, it just makes it easier for the select board. They probably got plenty on their plate, and they designated it. That's how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so to that end, I agree with Janet. I don't know if there's a vote here, because what are we voting on? That yes, we vote to forward this. We're not making any corrections.
Yeah, I think we've already agreed to do it and to.
Exactly.
Yeah, so the next step would be to forward it to them. I don't think that's a requirement for a majority of vote. That's
right. If we had a quorum here, we could do it official and vote on it, but especially if we suggested changes, but we're not.
Right.
I'm not hearing any anyhow. Want me to scroll down, Sierra? Or?
I mean, do you want me? What are we're looking out for? Anything that could, get us in trouble, or we pretty much
anything that's inconsistent, or.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if you want to do one more slow scroll through.
It's just kind of like one of those. It's very much a templated document.
Yeah, and
this contract is similar to other towns. Okay. Go ahead, Janet.
Yeah, so yeah.
I just said we didn't create it. I guess our lawyers created it, or whomever. So we're not.
Well, my understanding is Community Action sent this as a template.
Okay.
And then Ed tweaked it.
Okay, good.
Because Community Action has contracts like this with several towns.
Yeah, it looks good. Looks like it's on the up and up.
Versus inaction, which, short of trying to call an impromptu meeting, this has already been delayed longer than I'm comfortable with as far as getting this going.
I mean, the board or the authority already agreed to do this. They were just waiting for the implementation to get.
Right.
So I don't see that it's.
Yeah. Looks good. Looks great.
I think the next thing we should discuss, and I don't want to spend too much time on this because I know it's on the agenda later, but is how do we promote this? Can we post it on the town website? Do we the marquees around, the Lions Club marquee in front of Town Hall, the one in front of or across from the old Oprah? How do we?
Well, I would go to Community Action and ask them what normal steps that we could take to promote this. I mean, it's only $6,000 and.
Right. So they have already said that, in my conversations with Jana Tetro, is that you want to promote this. You want to have a means to let it be known.
Okay.
So maybe I'm working from home tomorrow. Maybe if I can reach Ed and ask his suggestions, maybe there's we do a press release with the Gazette, something like that. I'm not sure. I know I helped Cindy Palmer, when we were promoting the town survey, we did a lot of stuff with the marquee out there, but I was there to help, but she always, got the letters and knew I could reach out to her, I guess.
I mean, what would you need to know from her, I guess?
Where I get the actual box. She always had the letters that were in a box and the key that opened up the.
Yeah, so the Mothers Club has the one on the corner.
Okay.
And the Lions Club has the one in front of Town Hall. So it's contacting those two groups and to see if they're available, as they may have people queued up for them.
Right.
And then we would need to come up with the language to put on, but I mean, you got to be careful because it can't be. You got to be clear. I'm sure there's criteria. Is there criteria listed here that you would qualify based on certain criteria?
My suggestion would be the message is more, it might be very general, having trouble paying your rent, having trouble paying your mortgage.
Is this rent or mortgage? Because I thought it was pretty
well
oriented. That's the first question.
If we put both and say contact this number, the point is that Community Action will act as the clearinghouse and the filter for all of this. They'll take the calls.
Okay.
They'll start with RAFT money or IRMA money, which is for mortgage. And if the folks do or don't qualify for that, then that's where the CARES Act comes in. If they need more than that, more than RAFT money, which is rental assistance from the state, or if they don't quite qualify, but there's still a need that they would determine, that's how the money is spent. So it's really a hands-off from us. It's really, they contract it out. So in talking with Jenna, the whole purpose was to promote it, and they'll manage the calls.
So we would need the number.
Right. I've got an idea.
Okay.
I'm willing, I can reach out to Jenna again and confirm exactly what, she would recommend be posted, for example, either on the town website or on these, these marquees. We have a volunteer, someone to reach out to the Lions Club and someone to reach out to the Mothers Club to say, how do we access the boards? Can we access the boards? That kind of
Yeah, I mean, I can reach out to Bob Kozub of the Lions Club and we can find out I don't know who the Mothers Club contact is. So maybe I can, if you want to reach out to Cindy to find that. But I guess until we know how much, and if they think that that's a good idea, or just posting it on our website to start with, if we can get it on the front page of our website, to start and then kind of grow from there.
I'll tell you what, that's a good point. We may, in the future, want to know how to access these marquees anyhow, these boards. So Janet, if you would reach out to Bob just to find out the process and the availability,
Yep.
even if Janet says, no, that's too much promotion, I wouldn't recommend that. We'll know it for the future.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's just called, I can.
And I'll reach out to Cindy with the same for the Mothers Club. I'll reach out to Jana Tetro of Community Action and get the details. And we can loop it back to you folks via email, the communication.
Yep.
That work?
Sounds good.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. So we won't vote on this because we can't. But I'm going to send it forward to Ed to initiate. Good. All right. Coming back, let's go back to our agenda. Thank you for your patience with that. It seems like every month I get off the order of the agenda. Sorry about that. Let's talk about the DLTA grant and what the latest is on that. So, I mean, I'll give you a little update. And Sierra, I think I'm curious to hear your input. But this DLTA grant, apparently it's, you can put in multiple grants for this DLTA money. And initially I was all about, hey, let's go for it. You know, we'll present a beautiful case. We were already submitting, I wanted to submit a grant application for assistance with, you know, zoning changes and re-looking at a lot of the collaboration work between the planning board and the housing authority. But separately, you know, I also wanted to apply for assistance and guidance in creating a housing trust in town and the logistics of that. And so I talked, meanwhile, which I'm really encouraged about this, Paul Deeman of the planning board already was talking with Chris Fowles and put into the DLTA grant a request for this assistance with the collaboration with the housing authority. So that's a really good sign in my mind. I mean, I always felt the planning board wanted to work with us, but that's some real, you know, concrete evidence that they do, which is great. I was talking with Chris about, you know, should we then also look for assistance with building the housing trust logistics? And she said, sure, but I don't know, in emails with Paul and talking with Chris, I realized that I had to be careful not to bite off more than I can chew. You know, we're already really busy. Can we really, it's far more likely that this DLTA grant that Paul submitted is going to include some element of talking about building a housing trust, you know, what's required. And we know that Brian did some research on that anyhow. So a housing trust, you don't want to put the cart before the horse either. A housing trust is a valuable tool. We need to have it. We made it a priority for this authority to pursue that. But if you don't have a means to spend the money, so we have to do that kind of, I don't know, I'm not articulating myself well, but we have to, they can happen simultaneously. But if we build a housing trust minus some properties to buy, for example, or the zoning changes that will allow using that housing trust, it's kind of backwards. So anyway, after talking with Chris, I just felt, don't try to take on too much here and just overwhelm myself and maybe the whole process. So I didn't put in multiple DLTA write-ups or whatever. And I also got feedback from, I'm forgetting her name, from Mass Housing Partnership. But basically, you can put in multiple grant, but there's only so much money, and it's pretty tight. So it's not likely you're going to get all these multiple applications for one town anyway. They kind of look at it and see, are we serving a number of towns, et cetera. Yes.
So I thought the authority had voted to update the housing authority plan that was done around 2010 as using the DLTA grant for that.
Right.
I haven't heard it mentioned, so I guess.
Because I didn't choose my words well. But that's correct. That's part of the effort of working with the planning board.
So that you did
exactly
apply
right.
for.
I'm sorry?
That's part of the, go ahead, Sierra.
So you did apply for assistance with the housing production plan as
Yes,
well?
that's the main focus.
Okay.
I didn't articulate that well at all, but that's,
Okay.
to me, that's all part of working with the planning board. But, in my error, jumping ahead to talking about zoning and everything, which is obviously an area that is a priority for me, is jumping ahead. How do you figure that you need certain zoning if you really don't have a housing production plan? You don't know what your demand is, and et cetera, hence the housing production plan. And that's kind of the same logic with the, getting a trust. It's a good thing. We know we need it. It is a priority, but you really need that production plan.
And I also thought I heard Shelley say that it's really not our purview to do a trust, that it's really
Correct.
in the hands of the select board to maybe us to plant the seed, but not to actually create the trust.
Or to run the trust,
Well,
be on the trust.
we
Right?
are
The
not
trust,
the trust, right.
oddly enough, the examples I saw, the town's housing trust includes no members from the housing authority.
Right.
Although based on this contract template that Ed tweaked to include myself in it, we'll see if that stays true. That's
Okay.
interesting.
Can I add something?
Sure.
I think, the housing authority's role with the housing trust is to be the champion of making the housing trust happen. I think that's what we're involved in. Like, we don't need to be the board members, but no one else cares enough to make sure it actually gets created. So I think that's sort of where it falls on.
Yeah, we have to plant the seed, so.
Agreed.
And it's also I think even once we start the housing trust process, it's going to take a long time for it to go through and for it to start raising enough money to start buying things. So I don't think we have to worry that we don't have anything to spend our housing trust money on, because I don't think we're going to have housing trust money for another 2 to 3 years probably, if not more.
Actually, my recollection is there is a pretty good amount of money in the
Community preservation.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just blanking tonight. Must be
Because you're on the beach out there,
that's what it is.
It's that sun.
Yeah. That's actually, I'm probably having, hypothyroidism. I haven't eaten. But yes, there's money there. So
okay.
that's a knock on wood. That's a good thing.
So it's possible that once the trust is created, it will pretty very soon have money in it that's voted to be transferred from the community preservation.
I think it's a strong possibility.
Some of it anyway. I don't know if they'd let us take it all. Or
Probably not all.
Because it wouldn't be us.
Right.
Okay.
So anyway, that was a lousy summary of the DLTA.
And when do we hear back on that? Do you know?
I don't. But I have a good feeling about it based on as I recollect when they put it out there, if you were applying for housing production plan monies, that was a priority that they were going to fund, which is another reason to not dilute it with these other things. And I got a sense from both MHP and Chris that depending on, where we are with the housing production plan, it might not be too hard for us to create that there's money, time left over from the grant that we could pursue other related things like, okay, we need a housing trust, help us with that. I mean, it doesn't have to be limited to a housing production plan, even though that's what's in the thrust of our request.
Unmute. I can't tell if I forget if I'm muted or not because I have a whiner in the background. So,
No.
I'm just wondering at what point do we go to the select board and say to them, we would like you to consider establishing a housing trust? Because it really we need more than us to champion it. And I'm just, and if people come back and we get a lot of feedback that's not supportive, then maybe we put our energies in spending the money we do have. I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. Without the other groups involved in supporting it, we can spin our wheels, I think, for months here, but we need to get some buy-in that there's support, especially from the select board, I think. That's my opinion. So, we can talk about it all we want here in our group, but until we get some buy-in from other stakeholders, I'm not sure if it's productive. I don't know. I think we need it and I'm very supportive of it, but I think we need to get all other stakeholders involved. We can't make a motion and we can't vote on it, but that's just general opinions.
But we can discuss, and that's fine.
Yeah, we can discuss, yes.
So for me, it's a chicken and the egg, Janet. And if we start that ball rolling and then we don't have the means to finish it, is the goal just to gauge interest, or is the goal to, because we can do that simultaneously. This board will continue to meet. If we get a DLTA grant for a housing production plan that involves some heavy work with a planning board, that's great, but those will be separate meetings. And Brian did do some research on housing trusts, et cetera. He reported on that. So conceivably we can, to your point, I won't use a double negative. I do agree that it makes sense to push that.
At some point, get on the agenda for the select board and talk about the potential of a housing trust, even if it's Brian that talks to it because he has, or even a Shelley that comes in and just gives a 20-minute presentation to the select board when they don't have anything else on their agenda. So, it's not going to be a priority for them yet, but I think I just feel like we can do a lot of work and not have other stakeholders involved in it,
Yes.
be the
Fair.
champions, like Sierra said, but we're not going to be the decision makers on that.
And we go down that road too far and do some work only to find out that there's lukewarm interest. Fair enough. So one of the things Brian said to me when I was talking to him on the phone is he said, I'm still committed. I want to do this. Give me some work. So this can be something that we can, communicate to him, that to have him mentally prepare a mini presentation that he can give to the select board on a housing trust and why it's needed in town, and see if we can at least get their commitment to proceed, if not outright. What do you think of that suggestion as a way to keep it fresh, Janet, and to your point, and to explore it?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, again, whether it's Brian or Shelley or whomever, but somebody that can speak to the value of having a trust versus just CPA funds. You know, that a fund that can grow faster than CPA funds can grow. And the fact that it's not within our purview to establish it, run it, and manage it, we would need other people. You may have people saying, yeah, that's a great idea, and come right out, and you may have other responses. But, you know, it's an education, to me, it's an education process.
It is.
For the select board and.
Right, because they actually own a lot of the responsibility.
Right.
They may, like many of us, assume, okay, we'll have a housing trust, and that comes under the housing authority. Once they find out that they've got to do a lot of work. But that would be part of, I think, to your point, education that Brian could provide.
Yeah, okay.
As a select. So I'll send him an email and CC both of you. Again, we're not voting on anything, or we're just
communicating.
We're communicating.
And if you're worried about, okay, I'm not muted. If you're worried about whether or not there'll be too much back and forth, then just send it to Brian and we'll talk about it at our next meeting. So, I mean, open meeting law stuff, I know we can't deliberate too much about what we should.
You're right.
Via email.
Well, you tell me what you think, because I sense, and I think appropriately, that, you know, you want to get this going. We don't want to delay too long, but is a month too long? You know, early April, we're talking about this again with Brian, but he's got the heads up and he can come and to this body and say, yeah, I think that makes sense, and I'm willing to do this. And
yeah, I think one-on-one is great. I think if we do too much of a group email and share ideas back and forth, we're kind of in violation of open meeting law. So I think letting him know that we would like to vote for him to present to the select board would be perfect. No. And I'm sure he'd be excited about doing it. I mean, I know it's very important to him.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't want to delay it to the next meeting to start him that thought process, but we can't really vote now to go to the select board to.
No. And to your point, you're right. We can't be having deliberations by email. That's fair. Thank you for that reminder. Okay. It's hard to get work done without a quorum.
It is. It's really hard. So.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully we'll get Sarah in the next couple of weeks for at least a couple of weeks, for a couple
I'm
months.
I'm going to be voting so hard.
I know Brian must be, you know, because he's very committed and, you know, so.
Yeah. We see this as a blip.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the only thing I see left, and I don't know, do you want to do this, Janet, without a quorum, is to review town lots?
Well, I mean,
we could look and not decide anything, or you know, I would like Brian to see too. But.
Oh, yeah. I mean, so I don't know if you want, I mean, we've delayed it a long time. If you want to push it off for another month, I'm fine with that. You know, I mean, I can share with you the list that I have established. It's just basically town-owned property. I know Sarah and I were just mentioning the house on East Street, that's a foreclosure, I believe. And, you know, but from kind of things I've seen recently on the community Facebook page, it sounds like there's a lot of work that's involved. But if we had the ability to buy the house and then contractually do with a nonprofit builder, you know, affordable housing builder, I don't know how we would have to, again, get approval from the town probably to turn that into an apartments or anything like that, you know. I mean,
right. Minus a trust, there has to be a vote by the town, and we probably have a trust before then. I don't know.
Well, and we need to vote for the town if they would agree to that concept before we even ask for CPA funds, you know. I mean, if A, then B or something, but So I mean, we can, and again, I can show you a couple lots. I mean, we were looking at the one on Middle Road, which is just about 5 acres.
Wow.
So that's the only one that I went through this whole list with, I think, Martha, who is our principal assessor, to determine what would be location, where things located, and they sound good on paper, but then when you look at them, they're a little sliver someplace, or they're a long and narrow strip, or they're kind of inland and landlocked, or.
There's a reason they're still for sale.
Well, it's not, they're owned by the town. They're not even.
Oh, the town, I see. Yeah.
So, and then there's a house on Cold Spring. I don't know if anybody it's an M house. It's been on the market. It's probably under 180,000.
Oh my God. That was on the market years ago when I was looking in town.
Yeah, it's been on the market a few times. So, I mean, I don't know what you do with something like that to make it an affordable house, and it may be just not worth the investment to do something like that. But it's been on the market for a long time. So, when it's been on the market a long time.
Right. It hasn't even attracted another builder who's willing to bulldoze it and start again.
Right. Yeah. So
something's funky there.
Mm-hmm.
So we can, look at any other, and we talked about the commercial property, but I think there's a lot of conservation wetlands behind the Route 10 property on where the house burnt down, and it's now commercial property, and it's been on the market for a long time as well. And things in Southampton do not stay on the market.
Right. Especially now.
Yeah. So when they're, staying on the market, as long as there's got to be restrictions that are,
Right.
challenging.
I think the only reason things are the town-owned land, to your point, it's either doesn't have enough frontage or it's not a buildable lot for some reason.
Well,
But
let me show you this one. I think it's map. Let me just look.
that's where, working with a planning board and whatnot, you could either get for that particular lot, a waiver, or you do some zoning changes.
Let me see if I can share. It's map 34, lot 20, map 36, lot 24. So I'll just show it to you real quick, and then we can talk about it at our next meeting, if this gives me the option to share this, which it may not. Rats. Oh, I know what's the problem. Okay, just bear with me for a second. I have to close a couple windows here. See if it comes up now. So, can you bear with me a second? Sorry about that.
Of course.
Okay.
You bore with me so far this whole night. So.
I don't know why it's not popping up here. I'll show you the one and then I'll figure out. So this is the listing, the 30 Middle Road.
Uh-huh.
It doesn't. So 4.97 acres is frontage. The frontage is fine. And it's a tax title, so we took it over from a tax perspective. I don't know why I can download this map maybe, and then I can, let me stop sharing this. And if I can't get to it, I thought it would pop up on my screen here.
That would have been convenient.
Yeah, that would have been too easy. Okay, export to PDF. I think I did this once, but. Okay, now let me go back to my share screen. Boop, boop. Now let me open this document. Sorry. I like talking to myself, just so you know.
Helps us all
We're
get
listening.
Okay. Okay, so.
Oh, that's cool.
So this is, let me go up to 36. and then let it load for a minute.
And did you have to download all of this, or is this all available to anyone online?
It's available, and you just go to the Southampton Town Maps, and then I downloaded it as a PDF so I could more easily share it.
You say Southampton Town Maps. It's off the.
So you go to the assessors page in Southampton,
Okay,
and I can.
that's cool.
And then I can show you where that is. I'm happy to do that. But yeah, this is why we don't have to go stand in the office over the documents.
Good thing, because for a long time I thought we did, and that's why we were COVID kind of threw us a curve.
Yeah. Okay, 36. Here we go. Let it
I mean,
load.
there's something to be said about touching the paper and getting the whole sense of it. It's hard to scroll like this, but this is cool.
All right, now let me, oops, stop it. Why isn't it letting me move? There we go. Okay, so I think it's right here. So let me zoom in a little bit more. So it's right here, this 4.97
Oh, okay.
acres. Okay, there's a lot of frontage. Anybody read that?
Yeah, 177 feet.
Okay, so it's got enough frontage.
Well, for one anyway, but I like the size. I wonder if it'd be nice to put in a few there if you could.
Yeah,
You put like a little driveway in there.
yeah. I mean, you could
The back.
do things. I don't know. Again, you'd have to get people to agree. Now, because Chris was thinking there was some vacant property, but I'm not sure which one she was referring to in here. Whether it's right next door here or. But this, 5 acres is with enough frontage, and you can put a longer drive. I envision like little tiny homes back in here or something, Jim. So, or, just a couple smaller affordable homes.
1,000 square foot ranches or something like that.
Yeah, just, of course, we'd have to get some agreement with these two lot numbers, so. I don't know whose acreage this is, but this is what's owned by the town, so. So anyway, it's got frontage, and I don't know, what the planning board would say about it. I don't know the rules about building like a little development back in here. Again, I don't know. So this
Right.
is.
And we don't know the land either. We don't know if it's all ledge or if it's all swamp.
Yeah, I drove by, but it's, so it's hard to say. There's no green, so there's no wetlands back here because there's no there's no designation of wetlands. So, I mean, it looks like a pretty dry.
There's houses right by, so it probably perks.
Yeah, it's probably perks. So I don't know. So I just the thought. I don't know out here whether they have town water or not. So here's Moose Brook, where Moose Brook comes out.
Yeah.
And it's just past Moose Brook here. Moose Brook and this is middle. So Moose Brook and White Loaf probably is down here. Yeah, because Bissonnet Circle's back in here.
Right. White Loaf's got to be down there. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
You know what this doesn't? Oh, maybe are those green numbers the actual street number, like 49, 51, 53?
I believe so. So I
Right,
think
so you have a sense where it is. Okay.
like 58. I don't know why it goes to 28 and 29, because here you have 54. Well, it would be opposite sides of the street too. So I'm a
Or
little.
is it the green number?
Yeah, it's green. It goes.
Oh, I see the green
57,
number.
59.
Yeah. So yeah, I thought it was 55.
Yeah, it looks like 55.
Yeah, I missed the green numbers. So yeah, it would be if it had a number, it would be 55. Yeah.
Interesting.
So anyway, that's the one I've been dying for months to share.
It's intriguing.
I don't know if they have town water there or not. I don't know anybody that lives over in that way, but I'm assuming Bissonnet has town water. These are some pretty hefty lot sizes in Bissonnet. I didn't know they had such big lots.
Me either.
That part of it anyway, not once you get over here, it's a whole, that's Noreen and
Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I don't know, if the planning board would have any thoughts on it. If the town could tell us, if Ed could tell us, or Jen Day could tell us why it was,
Yeah, how did the town get to own that piece of?
it's a tax title, so we must have taken the property because taxes weren't being paid, so.
There's an opportunity there, perhaps.
So it's out of the whole list that I did, that Martha and I went through, it was the only one that, what did I do with my list again? I may have lost my list again, so. But of all the lists that I did, it was the only one I saw that I thought had some options for us.
So can I say something about this connection to the grant committee around this potentially?
Please.
So this one-stop grant that Chris sent me, and I'll be attending that meeting. I think it's tomorrow or the next day.
It's tomorrow. Yay.
Tomorrow. Yes, it's on my calendar. So that looks like something that, if we were ready, could be used to develop that property. There's a special consideration for rural and small towns, and it says they could get $50,000 to $400,000. And examples of eligible projects include request to fund the rehabilitation of an underutilized property in a rural community to bring housing back onto the market, or a request for funding the design or construction of a new water line connection to an adjacent town for an area served only by wells. So, there's a lot of different things you can apply for here. I was originally thinking, well, we should apply for, you can get a grant to support creation of a housing production plan, but we don't really need a grant if we have free technical assistance from the other thing. So maybe better to go for this, but this needs to be submitted by I think May. And I don't know if they're trying to make the decisions earlier than that. But it sounds like there's a lot of red tape that would need to be gotten through before then in order to apply for this kind of thing. Thoughts?
Yeah, the planning board could probably answer that question best, but I think if we were going to build affordable housing or lower income housing or housing that's affordable in an area, then there would have to be probably, I don't know what would be required of this particular property, but it would have to be go in front of the planning board. It would probably have to have a letter sent out to abutters, but Chris would probably have a good idea, what would have to be done. What else? Why, does the town have any other ideas with this property? It's only,
Right.
acres, you can't do a lot.
Right. The intriguing thing for me about this property is it's not like it's on the market and it's for sale.
Yep.
Because, without a housing trust, we can never move fast enough for that kind of thing. But this isn't going anywhere. So as long as the town doesn't do something with it, which is conceivable, sell it and generate some revenue with it. We want to kind of keep a placeholder on it. I think, to me, that would be the thing to communicate.
So it sounds like first we need to learn a little more about this lot and its intended and thoughts, what other committees have thought about it and what can be doing. Now, if you couldn't do this project, is there any sort of smaller scope, more ready to go projects that we might need money for? Because it sounds like this one-stop opportunity it's very flexible and you can apply, almost anything can fit under something. So if there's anything we need money for that we think we could spend soon.
Right. You mentioned, to bring water from an adjacent town to where, that's something we've considered, as far as housing in Southampton, the line with Easthampton, but usually it's been around sewer, not water, but bringing in infrastructure essentially.
I think that would qualify too. That was an example. Yeah. I think sewer would work too.
I wouldn't hesitate to talk to them about this property though, Sierra. I think we've got to start a conversation and you know, I mean.
So
it
can
may
you give
not
me
work
some
this-
descriptors that I can write down about what this property is? I know it's map 36. It was 55, what street was it on?
It's Middle Road, it's map 36, lot 24. I can send you the page.
Okay, 55 Middle Road,
I
approximately.
think I had sent out a screenshot of it a while ago, but I have to go back and see if I can find that, or I'll just, you know,
I
send
can
you.
always just, I mean, you told me where to find it, so I can always just
Yeah.
X document from the,
You go to the assessor's page and it's like Southampton town maps, basically. I'm gonna look and see if I can. Assessors, and it says, so it's, when you scroll down on the, let me just see if I can. I'll see if I can share this page so you can see it, but I'm not having luck sharing my pages these days with, yeah, okay, here it is, yeah, okay. So this is the assessor's page. You go to, you know, boards, commissions, assessors, and then it's right here.
okay, cool.
Nice.
Okay.
Cool.
And I don't know if it has property cards on it. I can look and see if there's a property card affiliated with it, but it's owned by the town, so I'm not really sure.
Property card? What is that? Like a descriptor of how it's zoned or what it's, or?
I'll show you. I'm going to put in. So this is our property card. Okay. It talks about our house, the land. Everybody has a property card in town where you can look at your own property, a sketch, so they have extensions or anything.
Wow, we're high
What you
tech.
have. So you type in your own address, so you can look up anybody's current value, your current value, you know, so it's a cool thing.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Nice.
I mean, I don't have a house number there for it though, so I can't really,
Could you try 55?
I can, but I don't, it's not really affiliated with that yet, but let me look.
Yeah, if it's just an empty lot, maybe it won't come up with anything. I don't know.
Yeah, 55 Middle Road. Yeah, it comes up blank, so there's no property found there. I could do 53 just to look at it. But again, it just, here, are we still sharing? No, huh? Okay, let me go back to share, sorry.
Well, I know this is public information, but before you share, and this is
Yeah, okay.
recorded and
Yep.
just, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I picked my house, because I know that no one would object to it.
I'm looking at it now on Google Maps, you know, like the satellite image.
Because you can do that with, I think, Muni Mapper, which is also on the assessor's page, so.
Well, right now it's just covered in trees, it looks like.
Yeah, I did, like I said, I drove by and it looked relatively, I didn't go in, I didn't walk in or anything, but.
Yeah, I wonder what's in there. Like maybe someone tried to dig and it was like,
Yeah, I don't know, again, if it's a tax title, I don't, you know, if that's how
Right.
that, I mean, I don't know if,
I think what you, I'm going to take a drive down Middle because if there's fire hydrants, then you know there's water.
I don't recall, that's what my cue is too, and I don't remember seeing fire hydrants, but I was just going that way, so I may not have been looking as thoroughly as usual, but yeah, that's the fire hydrants, the clue. Anything else for Sierra though, for tomorrow's grant opportunity that?
Well, I'm just thrilled that you can go, Sierra, because I think if it doesn't work for this year, then you learn and and that seems to be the wave of the state is this one stop rather than these multiple grants and trying to track them down and et cetera.
yeah.
I appreciate the fact they're trying to simplify things for, especially small towns that don't have paid staff.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay, well, I appreciate you sharing, Janet. I think we'll go back to that because that's interesting when we have a full
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, how do we, I don't know if somebody like from MHA can tell us, what do we have to do to take on town property? What's our stepping stones? You know, I mean, do we, as a housing authority, have to purchase it from the town?
Right.
Or, you know, I don't.
Is there transfers of me, you know?
Okay.
You know what, I could, I'm sorry, folks, I'm having cognitive trouble tonight, but I'll get the names from the people who spoke to at MHP. I could just email them and say, you know, they were willing to take those kind of emails, so.
Yep. Either Shelley or,
Right.
she was the latest one. Now I've forgotten the first person already, so.
And should I try to talk to, like, if we need to talk to the planning board in order to figure out if this is eligible for that grant, should I reach out to them? Should I wait till I've gone to this grant meeting and let you guys know what happens? Like, how should this info gathering about that lot, how can I move that forward?
Well, I guess since you're just a citizen of town at this point, officially, you know, I don't see there's any harm with you just inquiring. You know, I don't know what the planning board's going to know about this lot, though, or
Who might know something about it? Like, who's been in the government for
the
so long?
assessor, maybe?
Around this time.
So Martha might know a little bit about it, but I think because we took it over from a tax title, I don't know if Jen Day, the treasurer, would know anything about it. I mean, you could try Martha, but I you know, I think, you know, we talked about it and we defined that it looks viable, but I don't know that she knows anything more about it than that.
Okay, so you've already talked to Martha, the town,
Yeah,
she's the town assessor?
Yeah, the principal assessor in town, yeah.
So I'll try asking Jen, see if she knows anything about the history, and then maybe see if there's anyone else in planning or with zoning. Is there a zoning board, and would they know?
I don't know that they meet, and, you know, they don't meet frequently and kind of as needed. And, well, Mr. Gielaher, who was on our meeting that time, was when we met with the planning board, and I don't only call him Mr. Gielaher because I can't remember his first name, is the chair of the zoning board. Do you know him, Jim, at all?
I don't, but was it Ryan?
Ryan, that's it, yes.
Ryan or Ryan?
I think it's Ryan.
Yeah.
It would be on the, and I don't know who gets the emails, if you send them out to the zoning board or how long that process would take. So, I mean, it'd be interesting. I mean, I'm going to guess that no one has approached the town about it at this point. So I don't know what's behind it, but.
I could go knock on the neighbors' doors and be like, "Hey, you know anything about that lot over there?" I'm just a concerned citizen. You may recognize me from the visible town meetings on the website.
But yeah.
But property is valuable in town, so I'm kind of surprised that it's just sitting there and a little bit worried that something might happen to it.
Right. So I mean, I would mention it to Chris tomorrow. It is a tax title. It is owned by the town of Southampton. If she has any idea of, you know, I don't know that she would have any idea of what we need to do planning board wise, because I think we'd have to talk to the planning. We'd have to find out first what's the process for building on it, if it's available to be built on.
Right.
And then if the town's amenable to that, then,
Right.
you know.
Would it require a vote at a town meeting to transfer, you know, the property, or how does that work?
And if we build on it, are we automatically building affordable housing? And if so, does that need an additional vote to even like create it?
Yeah, I don't know that we would build on it for any other reason than to have it.
Yeah, so do we need to tell people that's our intention, or they'll just assume that's our intention? But
No, we would need to, they would probably, it probably would have to be some kind of vote. So I go back to MHP again and saying, here we have this property, you know, because I think they can guide us to what are the steps. We would go to the select board? Do we go to the planning board? Do we have to take, you know, if we decide to build on it, do we have to purchase it? And what's the process for getting agreement for affordable housing? I think it takes maybe a town meeting to do that. Which there's one coming up probably in the May timeframe. So,
Yeah, we'll be here before you know it.
yep. So,
So I've been taking some minor notes here, but you know, I'll be happy to email a point of contact at MHP and ask about the town-owned lot, the process to transfer if there is one, disclosing of affordable, does it require a town vote? I'll be happy to do that.
does it have to go in front of the planning board, you know?
I'll email Brian, ask him if he's willing to present to the select board, you know, about trust and try to move that along. I will email Cindy Palmer and I'll ask her about access to the Mothers Club marquee board.
You want me to do that, Jim?
Well, I was going to ask you to do what Bob Kozub for the
Yeah.
Lions.
Yeah, that's on my list. If you want me to check with Cindy too, I'm happy to do that. That's all.
Great. I won't argue with you.
Okay.
Thank you. And Sierra, you're gonna email Jen. Is it Jen about asking about the property at 55 Middle? And Janet, you're also. I hear you say, would you reach out to Chris Fowles and just ask? You were going to ask her about that property if she.
Well, I said to Sierra, I just mentioned that while she was meeting on the grant committee, if there's any.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
yeah, so Chris knows about it.
Chris is going to be at that meeting. That's right, that training.
Yeah, I've talked to Chris about it a couple times. And
She said she is quote unquote intrigued.
Intrigued, yes. So we've had discussions with it. I just don't know what we need to do. I guess MHP would give us the guidelines of the steps that we would need to take.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, so I might have jumped ahead a little bit there, but I was kind of summarizing our to-dos.
I think we're pretty much at the end of the agenda, so.
I think so too. That's why I jumped there.
Yeah.
Is there anything I missed as far as assignments or other agenda items that people want to touch on before we schedule the next?
I'm good.
Okay. So
Actually, may I speak a minute? I'm sorry.
Sure, of course.
I misspoke. There is one item that I would like to just bring up briefly. And there are 2 openings for the Housing Authority that are up for grabs in May. Okay. One is a 1-year position, which I'm assuming is finishing Chuck's position out. And one is a 5-year position. So I've served probably 8+ years in town volunteerism. I probably have 1 more year in me, but I don't know that I have 5 more years in me. So I would be happy to pull papers for the 1 year if Sierra is good about pulling papers for the 5-year, if you're interested.
Yeah, I mean, what are the terms here? If for some reason something happens and I move, like, do they get to beat me? Like,
tar and feather, I think is
Town Square.
I'm willing. I'm absolutely willing. Yes. I will do the 5.
It's a long, I don't know who established 5 years, because I think it's a very long commitment for people. This is just Janet Kane speaking. And, but I do think that, that, if you have to move or you.
Right, you can't control that.
You can't.
Yeah,
Or
but clearly
say,
people
can't-
leave the housing authority. They have done so.
yeah,
already.
yeah.
I mean, it's a sad reality, Sierra. We've lost, not necessarily to the housing authority, but as part of the master plan, I've seen you see all the other committee representatives and you hear their stories about someone who moved out of town and they can't represent anymore if they're no longer in town.
Yeah.
So that's life. We can't control that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you're willing to commit to Jan's point, it's a long time, 5 years. But if you say, yeah, if I'm here, I'm in.
Yeah, sure.
That's great
Why not?
because I will also email Ed and ask him about finding that paperwork that you submitted to be the volunteer. So you can actually serve between now and May in the town election.
But we also have to pull papers, Sierra, at town hall. So you need to contact Lucy. It's because I didn't want us to both pull papers for the 1-year position and fight for the 1 year and then have nobody in the 5-year. Because what I would then do.
Yeah, fierce campaign.
I can try it out for 1 year if we didn't talk about it, So we would get, I think papers and signatures have to be in by the end of March.
Okay.
For the May election. And we can talk about it after the meeting or sometime in the next few days if you want, if that's.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you can email me or call me.
Yeah. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
That would bring us back up to a full, wouldn't it?
Yeah. We wouldn't have a state. And then if the state comes through, then we can work on filling in the others.
Yeah. Yeah, so if the state somehow appoints me before the end of March, I'll let you guys know. But
I think that's unlikely.
yeah, I think that the EOHED is very swamped right now. I'm dealing with like a grant from them in my day job, and been waiting for them to just like make the announcement so we can tell people that we got the grant and start doing things, and it's just like silent from them.
So understandable then.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think there's a lot going on there with housing insecurity these days and all sorts of things.
Alrighty.
Okay.
Thank you. I meant to bring that. I got a list from today of all the openings. So I wasn't sure what they were. So when I saw them, I wanted to just mention it tonight. So.
Okay. So I guess we can't vote to adjourn.
Can we recommend a meeting though?
We can recommend, I was looking at April 5th is the next first Monday.
Yep.
Does that work for folks? Easter Monday?
Okay.
6 o'clock is still working for everybody?
Yep.
Nice.
And it's 7:20, so I'll put our meeting ended at 7:20. Is that good?
Yes. Yeah. Perfect. All right. A lot of discussion for a night where we couldn't really do anything.
Good, productive discussion.
It is. It is. And Sierra, I appreciate you, especially as a guest, non-voting member, to stick it out with us. So thank you.
It's just me and Jim talking back and forth to each other.
All right. Thank you both. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Good seeing you.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody.
Have a good night, everyone.
Night.
Night.
Bye-bye.